Ready?
Yep, we're rolling.
We're rolling, okay. One thing I failed to mention in the earlier videos was this is your water inlet for the cooling water for the engine. And when replacing this hose, the only thing you need to do is make sure you use a reinforced hose, because you can actually shut, you can suck so hard on the hose that you can suck the hose shut if it's too soft of a hose. That's so that would be under negative pressure. That's the inlet.
A standard radiator heater hose, automotive heater hose. Probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I have done it, and it has worked. And then I have done it, and people have said, "Hey, you know, I got this problem. I'm overheating." And
yeah, okay.
We attributed it to the hose, but however, we never changed the hose. We just changed the impellers, and they were off and running again. But I did have one customer that that was his problem. He kept changing the impellers, and he hadn't changed the hose. The hose had just softened over time,
okay.
And it was getting sucked shut. So he changed it to a new hose. And so I recommend using a reinforced hose of some type. I don't like the wire reinforcement. I like the fabric reinforcement. But the idea, because the wire reinforcement will get you when you're putting it on. So I like the fabric reinforcement. That's good enough.
Okay.
Other questions about the covering boards? These covering boards on this side look pretty good. We've got one covering board. The bottom one on this side is pretty well.
Let me work my way around here.
My guess is that when this boat was being stored, they must have had some of the stuff piled up against the side over here, and it kept moisture right here. The bottom is, so that one's going to have to be replaced. This one is more than likely going to have to be replaced, unless you might take that to a cabinet shop, sand that down. Matter of fact, that's probably the easiest way to handle all of these instead of trying to strip them. Is just take them to a cabinet shop, have them individually, have them sanded. All these screws, use oval head, stainless, Phillips will be fine. Oval head stainless to go back in after all the varnish work's done. You'll varnish these individually, and you'll apply them with the screws, so the screws won't have varnish all over them and in the heads.
What about the potential of flipping them over?
Oh,
No, just flipping the plank over, taking the starboard side, putting it on the port side.
Yeah, you could do that. You'll have to, if you did that, you'd have to round them.
Oh, but our curve would be the wrong direction.
Yeah, but no big deal. I mean, that's easy to do. So in the case of this guy, that makes him reusable. That bottom one, you're not, you know, this bottom one back here, you're just not going to get it.
Okay.
But,
are those ½ inch thick?
About 3/8.
About 3/8. Okay, so we really can't sand them much, can we? No,
but you won't have to much. I mean, it looks like you're going to have to take about a 1/16 out of this one.
Yeah.
And there was something leaning up against that held moisture against that and rotted that. But you can probably get most of that out in a cabinet shop for very few bucks. Be well worth it to do it that way. If you have a portable planer, you can plane a little bit off, but sometimes that'll leave a chatter mark, and so if you can sand them, that'd be better.
Okay.
Oh, I also failed to mention engine mounts. Under the engine mounts, you have these wedges. These wedges are for adjusting the height of your motor. And somebody said, well, you know, they're trying to figure out how they're going to hold the motor up to drive the wedges back and forth. And I said, no. You don't understand. You just drive the wedge back and forth. You can literally raise and lower this 1,000-pound, nearly a 752-pound engine that the KFL is. You can literally raise and lower the engine just by driving the wedge in or driving the wedge out with the bolt slightly loosened. And of course, the purpose for these wedges is to adjust the attitude of the engine to match the angle of the prop shaft. You can't adjust the prop shaft angle.
Okay.
You got to adjust the engine to that.
Okay. Okay. These vents, this just looks like downspout hose.
And that was original from the factory.
Really?
Yeah, that was original from the factory. That is not, that's original from the factory that way. The idea is that the air gets forced down to the lowest portion of the boat, because that's where the gasoline fumes, being heavier than air, will accumulate. And you'll notice that this vent back here comes down to the bottom as well. It comes down to the floor. The idea is that the air, we don't want to worry about ventilating the upper area of the boat. We want to ventilate this lower area of the boat.
Now, do we? Most power boats today have blowers.
And what we do is we add the blower back here. We'll take this out. We put a 3-inch blower in there, and we run the hose. The hose will fit under the stringer, and and then under the back seat, and then then you can bring your hose up right underneath the engine to the lowest point in the boat.
Okay.
And we put the switch in stealth mode. You know, we put it underneath the dash. It's just a regular toggle switch. We always try to use the toggle switches that have the instead of the blades that slide on, because they'll slide off. We use the toggle switch that's got the
screw terminals.
Screw terminals on. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And we hide them behind the dash. And you can just reach behind the dash. You'll feel where they're at, and you'll know where they're at, and you hit them on.
Okay.
Same thing with a manual bilge pump switch.
Okay.
And your automatic will be on all the time anyway, because you come off your power, you put a fuse in it, and you go to the automatic lead in your bilge pump. On the bilge pumps, we don't use separate switches in bilge pumps anymore. We use a bilge pump that the switch is built into the bilge pump.
Okay.
I have put switches in separately, and the switch kicked the bilge pump on, but the pump not pumped the water down low enough to kick it back off. Therefore, it runs the battery down. I'm talking about experience again. It runs the battery down, and you haven't got any protection. So we get the pre-engineered package, switch and pump all together, and it's got a test switch on it, and you hold the test switch, and the pump comes on, and it's engineered to turn the water on at a certain level, and turn the pump off at a certain level, so that you don't have that problem of running the pump needlessly and running your battery down.
Okay. Is there just a few little things here? Is there a cover for the glove box?
No cover on it. As a matter of fact, I'd like to have that item that's around your glove box, because we need to make a match for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, not only for you, but for other people. With your permission, I'll grab that.
Yeah, you can take that.
Okay, all right. Or at least just a sample of it, because the item is pretty well toasted anyway. This is original material. You can see this is original Tango Red. And you can see that they were spitting tacks. They didn't even staple that. That was tacked in.
Oh.
We're the only source for Tango Red in the world right now. So that's real honest to goodness Tango Red, and we have it.
Okay.
So I'll steal that item, and we'll be the only source for that item. So this is definitely original upholstery.
Okay. Good enough. Well, I appreciate you doing this for me.
Ouch!